All right, everybody. Welcome to the Contextual Christian Church Bible Study, where today we're going to read Isaiah chapter 40, verses 15 to 31. I'm going to pray it in. Everybody bow your heads. Father, thank you for getting us on another Bible study for today. Um, I pray that with this Bible study that we're getting into, and just like any other Bible study we get into this year, after we had a conversation about getting into new beginnings and the newness, I pray that we still continue to have that same dedication that we've always had, making sure we're on the Bible study, making sure we're trying to get the context as best as possible, and learning from a lot of the situations going on as best as possible. Same with this one today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, so last time what we had gotten into, we began and got halfway through chapter 40 of Isaiah. But the real part of what we got into was the prophecy of John the Baptist, or the second coming of Elijah, and literally quoting word for word as we got to in verse 6, where it brought up that the voice cry, and he said, "What shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all the goodliness thereof is as the flower of the field." We talked about the preparing the way of the Lord, starting from the very beginning, hollowing out his hand. Who knows how much it is? Who knows what he's capable of? And we got into that literal quote, as I'll get to where was it? In verse 3, the voice of him that crieth in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our Lord. And it described actually preparing that way. And we had that quote from John the Baptist in all four gospels, and what it literally said in verse 9, that when it said preparing the way for the Lord, and it told him basically who it's prepared for, he said, "Behold your God." And it wasn't your as in you are, it was your as in possessive, as in this is your God. And who does John the Baptist introduce? He introduces Jesus. So when John the Baptist quoted this verse in the context of it, he was literally calling Jesus God, not even metaphorically. And that's what we got into, with the very last part being about questioning who's able to measure how the depth of his hands are, or the span of everything of heaven that's in. Who's able to compare? Who's able to teach God? Who's able to do this for the Messiah? Nobody. Who else could direct the Spirit of the Lord? Being his counselor had taught him. And so we had that comparison to the coming of Christ and this direct prophecy, word for word quoted when Christ finally showed up. So now today we're going to continue that with verse 15, as I'll switch it to our first section so our first reader can read. Charles, go ahead and mute and go ahead when you're ready.
You got it. I'll be reading Isaiah. Well, give me a second.
You all right?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure you can hear me because the screen is blurry on my end. It's super blurry on my end. I wanted to
Oh,
make
is
sure my
it?
connection was. I wanted to make sure my connection wasn't all over the place.
All right, let's make sure mine isn't. Now I'm seeing my green. All right, try saying something one more time.
Yeah, I can still hear you.
All right, then go ahead. I'll mute myself.
All right, I'm gonna run with it. I'll be reading Isaiah chapter 40, verses 15 to 21. Verse 15. Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and are counted as the small dust of the balance. Behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing, and Lebanon is not sufficient to burn, nor the beast thereof sufficient for a burnt offering. All nations before him are as nothing, and they are counted to him less than nothing, and vanity. To whom then will ye liken God? Or what likeness will ye compare unto him? The workman melteth a graven image, and the goldsmith spreadeth it over with gold, and casteth silver chains. He that is so impoverished that he hath no oblation chooseth a tree that will not rot. He seeketh unto him a cunning workman to prepare a graven image that shall not be moved. Have ye not known? Have ye not heard? Hath it not been told you from the beginning? Have ye not understood from the foundations of the earth? All right. So the first section, 7 verses. Starting off with my section, it's, I would say, only connected with the sarcasm of like God, who God is, and how insignificant everything is compared to God. That's connected, but we're getting different
Well, what
details
was
of that.
happening
But
in 14?
with whom took he counsel, and who instructed him, and taught him in the path of judgment, and taught him knowledge, and showed to him the way of understanding. Didn't we bring this when I brought
The-
this up the other? Oh, what were you gonna say? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, yeah, no. So from that, it's not just sarcasm that's connected there. It's the same point that's being made. What's the point that's being made in 14?
Oh, how ain't nobody was with God when all this was set up. God did all this. Who was with them? Who taught them this? Who did this? Who did that? God is the one that did all this.
No, that's the direct statement. That's not the impact. That's not the point. The point is that he doesn't need nobody to do that, that he's above it. The Messiah is above needing a teacher. The Messiah is above all these things. Do you see what I'm saying?
Can you further elaborate with that? Because I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
Because I'm
In
trying to
14,
understand how I missed that.
in 14, we're still talking about the Messiah. And it said,
Mhm.
who needs to teach him anything? Who needs to show him anything? When you're asking that question and you're saying who needs to, is it a legitimate question or is it a question to prove a point?
Question to prove a point.
Exactly, a question to prove a point.
Thank you for everything. You're going back down Dallas, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so it was a question to prove a point. And what is the point? That he doesn't need it. It's not actually asking, it's that he doesn't need it. So when we look at it from that perspective, saying he doesn't need it, then we look at the perspective from here of the verse 15. What's 15 actually saying?
15 is, well, so 15 is getting into how these nations, a drop of a bucket. In other words, a small speck, insignificant, a little thing. Same with
Exactly.
the islands. This is like a tiny speck compared to the Messiah.
Exactly. So how is that any different from asking the question, who taught him? Who does he why does he need why does he need a teacher? Why does he need a teacher? Like if you're asking that question, you're not actually asking that question. You're saying it to say he doesn't need it. You see what I'm saying, Charles?
We're just using this section to further elaborate how there is nothing next to him. There's no one besides him. Um, he's the Almighty, and everything else is insignificant or as a speck of a dust. Not even a speck of a dust. It's just not enough. It's nothing. Because that's really my
Exactly.
section. What it was getting into. Each verse is getting into how all these things are of nothing.
So you see how what you answered with was incorrect because you said the sarcasm was the thing that was the same? No. The whole entire
Yes.
point is the same. You can't
Yes.
even call this majority. It's totality.
Yes.
So that's
Every
the point.
single point he gets into for this whole thing.
It's saying the same exact thing.
Mhm.
Exactly. All right. Now go into your sections.
Sections. Which is funny because all the points are the same, but we got the nations as a droplet. Lebanon not being enough. All the nations are being like nothing.
Yeah.
15, 16, 17. Yeah, I got 15, 16, 17. Well, I could. To whom then will ye liken God? Or what likeness will ye compare unto him? Same thing. Really, it's all I could individually go into it, even though it's all saying the same thing, but
It's not all saying the same thing.
not the individual. So 15, 16, 17, those are in that's a section that I got.
I would include all the way to 18.
With that ending statement of how like sarcastic trying to prove a
Yeah,
point. What are you going to
who can
compare
you
God to?
compare it
Who you
to?
can compare God to? Hmm.
Yeah, because that's another question. That is it actually asking the question?
No, it isn't.
Exactly. It's not really asking the question. It's pointing out to prove a point that there's nothing to compare it to. But then we get into 19. What is 19 saying?
The workman melted the graven image, and the golden smith spreaded it over with gold and cast his silver chains. I need 20 with this. He that is so impoverished that he hath no oblation chooseth a tree that will not rot. He seeketh unto him a cunning workman to prepare graven image that shall not be moved. So 19 and 20 are that's the section. So second section. Let
Mhm.
me read 21. Have ye not known? Have ye not heard? Has it not been told you from the beginning? Have ye not understood from the foundations of the earth? Prove the point. Not asking the real question. 21 and 21 and 22. It is he that sitteth upon the circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 21 and
So is
22.
19 and 20 part of 15 through 18?
I have it as a separate section.
Exactly. But you said they're all together.
Not okay, so sorry. With these sections, no. It was just that point of the
Oh, if you're talking about the
everything being
overall and above
the
all is the same,
overall
then yes.
the overall and above all. But
But the direct
no,
points now. All right, now go ahead and do the explanation.
15. Back to what I was saying before, how the nations are it's like a drop in a bucket, like dust,
Charles, we
suspect.
already talked about this. Once you have your sections, why are you doing individual verse? You just described that it was 15 to 18 is one section.
Oh, so the first section, the whole point is nations are like they're insignificant dust. All of these nations, all these people, it's not enough. It's nothing, in other words. Who are you going to compare to God? Who's going to be like God? Oh, this person's like God. No, You can't compare anything like God, like the one true God. How can you compare
Exactly.
anything to the one true God when everything else is as a speck? Everything else is of nothing.
Exactly. Good. Now go to 19 through
Let me
20.
read let me read 19 and 20 because you
But
got the
before you
workman.
do, but before you do,
Got it.
do you see now why I'm always telling you how you're getting stuck in the details and not just explaining what you read?
Oh, just now how I was about to go from 15, 16, 17, 18 instead of
Yeah,
just doing the
like
whole
you
point.
literally just said, and we agreed on looking at it that 15 through 18 are connected as one section. But then you go to individual details on 15. Now, I want you to explain 15 by itself. Not the point, not the meaning, not the explanation. I want you to explain 15 by itself.
So this is when it's talking about the nations are just a drop of like a drop in the bucket. They counted for as dust, and the islands are a small little thing. In other words, these things are counted for as little things, like specks. In other words, the nations and the islands
Good. Kind of as a spec compared to what?
compared to the overall picture of God, of the totality
No,
of
no,
what
no, no. I
God.
wasn't saying that as a question. I was
Oh,
saying, do you see what you just did by going by the verse? You literally just made the mistake of rereading it rather than explaining it.
so what I just said that wasn't an explanation.
No, because you're not explaining the point. You're explaining the details. You explained about them being dust. You explained about the nations and the isles being a small thing. But what does it mean when it says that? What is the point behind that? You see how I'm saying you're not explaining the verse, you're explaining the details?
Oh, because I didn't bring up how it compared to the overall picture of God and God creating His things and all
And
the things in all the
exactly.
totality.
But
Yes,
when you
yes.
did the whole section together, what did you do?
When I did the whole section earlier, I thought I brought up the point.
You did.
I made the mistake of doing it first. You corrected me, and then I brought up the whole point.
No, 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 but I'm doing this to show you the difference. When you were explaining the section, you accurately explained it. When you went verse by verse, you immediately got caught up on the details instead of explaining the meaning.
And you're trying to show me the difference. And when, if I explain it, if I look at it as a section, I can do a better job explaining it versus going verse by verse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When it's necessary to go verse by verse, cool. In the times where each verse is a standout and it's not connected at all, cool, do that. Proverbs and Psalms, great places for that. But when you have a section, you can now, and I want you to go back and re-listen to this after I'm able to post this. Might be a couple days, but after I'm finally able to put this one up, I want you to go back and re-listen to this one because I want you to see the difference when you were explaining the section. You accurately explained in totality what's happening in the verses. But when you switched up and I had you explain verse 15, you got caught up in the details again and didn't explain the meaning behind the verse. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
This is why I tell you guys that we set the sections so you can explain the sections. Because when each section is one grouping, it helps with that focus, and you were able to correctly explain it without any help from me. But as soon as you went to verse by verse, you screwed up and explained it incorrectly because you explained the details of the verse rather than the actual meaning of the verse. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
All right, good. So now, go ahead and explain 19 and 20.
Okay. Let me reread them first.
Mm-hmm.
The workman melted the graven image, and the goldsmith spreaded it over with gold, and casteth silver chains. He that is so impoverished that he hath no oblation chooseth a tree that will not rot. He seeketh unto him a cunning workman to prepare a graven image that shall not be moved.
Mhm.
I'm thinking of I'm trying to get the overall to this because this is bringing
Well, you
this
have
up.
to, in a situation like this, you have to take into account the standout points of each verse. A graven image, what is that?
Idol, false
Good.
idol. Sorry,
What does it mean to be impoverished?
impoverished. Isn't that like the? Let me write this down. Make sure I get this right. Isn't that like poor?
Yeah, beyond
You
broke.
don't.
Like you ain't got no money, no nothing. What's an oblation?
Let me write this down real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go to the Strongs because I've gotten this wrong before. Because it's a
Mm-hmm.
type of offering, but what type of offering?
Well, for the sake of the point, that doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
For the
So
sake
just
of the,
I
it's
know
just the fact
the
that it is an
oblation is an
offering.
offering. It's an offering.
Yeah, yeah. So now keep those in mind and reread 19 and 20. Keep in mind what a graven image is. Keep in mind what an oblation is and what it means to be impoverished.
The
And
workman melteth. Oh, all right. The workman melteth the graven image, and the goldsmith spreadeth it over with gold, and casteth silver chains. He that is so impoverished that he hath no oblation chooseth the tree that will not rot. He seeketh unto him a cunning workman to prepare a graven image that shall not be moved.
all right, do you get what it's saying overall?
Overall,
Or
now that I'm still thinking about it,
what's a graven image?
the idol, false idol.
Yeah. So start from 18. Maybe that'll help you.
To whom that might help. To this might change my sections. To whom then will ye liken God? Or what likeness will ye compare unto him? It's now when I add 18 now it sounds like this workman is building this idol as like a comparison thing. You're trying to, but that was dumb. That's pointless.
There you go.
Why, in
Yes.
other words?
Yes.
You're trying there's graven image, you're trying to make it as an example. They're trying to make this as a comparison, but that was stupid. You can't
Yeah,
compare a
nothing
graven
compares to
image to
God. You're
nothing
pick
compares to God.
exactly. And for the ones that don't have enough money to do their offering to God, they choose a tree that doesn't rot and then they build an idol for themselves. Now, here's a part that you wouldn't have known unless we've been reading multiple times with this type of statement. Impoverished or poor is not always in reference to money or lifestyle. A lot of times it can also be a reference to being poor in spirit or impoverished in spirit. You have no faith in God, no faithfulness to God. Oh, that's so funny. God is hilarious. Charles, why do we have to delay yesterday's Bible study to today?
Oh, because of the little back and forth that the argument with the previous
No.
member.
Yeah, but we're reading the same situation type. Someone who is so poor in spirit that they built up an idol, his conspiracy theories, to where that is more important to him than God. But instead of it being a graven image, it being the idolatry, the conspiracy theories, the idolatry.
Yeah, let me finish
It's
writing that down
literally
too. Yeah, I
doing the
got
same thing.
it.
Literally the
Yeah.
same thing. Like it's not even exaggeratively. It's literally the same exact thing But instead of it being a graven image like an idol that way, it's idolatry of an idea.
I
And
don't think you saw that
ideology is the
coming.
idolatry. I didn't. No, no. You heard it in my voice. I didn't see that coming. It didn't hit me till just now while we're reading this. I'm like, and it never fails, Charles. It never
Yeah.
fails.
It's always we'll read and
Ever.
then it'll just be like, wow.
Like
This
literally,
wasn't
what was the whole time? What was the whole thing? We're biblical Christians. We don't claim something's a fact unless we can back it up with legitimate evidence. He
not sticking to
wanted to believe
conspiracies
in
that
something.
I was gonna,
Yeah.
yeah, not sticking to conspiracies where you can't back up the conspiracy. You can't prove that it's true. Matter of fact, it wouldn't even be a conspiracy if you prove it's true. Let me say that. What am I
No, no,
saying?
it still would. It still would. It still would.
It still would.
Conspiracy, yeah, conspiracy theory does not mean that something is false. It just means a group is working together for harmful or malicious means. So, like, if you have a group working together to hide a truth that they don't want people to know, that's a conspiracy theory, whether it's true or false. Even if it's true, it's still a conspiracy. For example, in the court of law, if you and I had made plans to kill somebody, that would be called
Yeah.
conspiracy to commit murder.
Mhm.
That's what conspiracy means. So it'd still be a conspiracy. It would just be a true one if that was the case.
But there's a
But
difference between those who stand on the truth and can back up the truth versus you living in that without backing it up.
yeah,
Using it
yeah.
as you brought up, your idolatry. You used it as your form of idolatry and standing in it.
Your ideology has become your idolatry. I don't know why I said that like a tone.
I was about to say, it sounds like you're gonna write this in a song.
I might. It might be the chorus. I might put it in like R&B. Your ideology is your idolatry. That might be how I do it. It's gonna be an R&B song. Your ideology is your idolatry. There we go. That's yep. It's a plan. It's gonna be coming a song, Charles. Thank you for that.
But yeah, I got where you're coming from earlier. How this Bible study it wasn't even planning for that, but still, we're still getting we're still getting those
And
lessons that go into what had happened literally yesterday. It doesn't matter what we got going on, whatever happens in our lives, our Bible study finds a way to connect to what was going on.
yeah. And the funny part is we're not even trying to connect. It just happens to be timed out like that, the way things happen. Like if Thomas could have waited one day to start his bullcrap, he would have been on worship service where 13 out of 17 verses backed up what I was saying. If he could have just waited a day. Here, this is yesterday's Bible study. Because of that situation, we didn't get to do Bible study. If Thomas could have waited one day, today's the 14th, and listened to today's Bible study, he would have saw his wrong. Now, whether he would have accepted it, we don't know. But it would have been there at least. But the way God timed it out and worked it out, he's gone right as we get to this verse. That is the same exact behavior he's doing. Just swap out the graven image for the idolatry, the ideology, idolatry. Crazy. All right. But go ahead with 21. Don't forget to unmute.
Sorry about that. I was thinking about what you were bringing up. Let me reread 21. Have ye not known? Have you not heard? Have you not known? God, have you not heard from the beginning what God has done? Did you? What did Jesus just say? Have you not read?
Yeah, have you not? I was about to say that. I'm glad you caught it. I'm glad you
have
caught
you
it.
not read?
Mhm.
It's been said since from the beginning, the Genesis and all of that, all the way to now. You ain't heard, which is funny saying that because even I've heard, but not the full context. But even
Yeah.
still, not doing Bible studies, not being in the Word, not being in anything, and I still heard. People can't. It's hard for me to say people. I don't know. It's hard for me to give an excuse to where you haven't heard. Even I heard, even though I didn't know all the context, I still heard.
Yeah. Well, think about the island where the preacher went to and he died. And it's an island that's illegal to go there because they've been untapped from civilization. So just like a He-Man, I don't know however you want to call it, but it's
Indigenous,
illegal to go
probably. I think it's called indigenous.
something like that. But the thing is the guy went there to try to preach Jesus to them. They killed him. Charles, if you guarantee if their ability is to speak, you think the people inside the village didn't hear nothing about it? They already had their opportunity now.
Yeah.
Like he was trying to talk about something. We can't do it. We don't know what he was saying. We don't know what he's saying. Well, maybe we should have thought about it. Maybe we should have asked. Try to communicate. Nope, 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 nope. All right, you chose your way. Just so funny the way it works. And like you brought up, the fact that Jesus said the same thing. And it's so funny because I say the same thing. We don't ever say it's amazing ideology. It's amazing way to look at it. I'm going to believe it right off the bat. No, we research, see if it's true, and see if it contradicts the Bible or not. Because we know for a fact if it contradicts the Bible, it can't be true. We know that. If the Bible even speaks on it. Some things the Bible doesn't talk about. But if the Bible speaks on it, then we know the Bible's the truth, and that's not. There's got to be something missing. And that was along the lines with the same situation too. Have ye not understood from the foundations of the earth? Now, we don't know what specifically it's going to connect to, but we know when it says this, whatever comes next, that's the thing that he's saying. You should have already known this. And think about how stupid God is calling them in the way that he's phrasing this. Charles, if I ask you this question, have you not seen the 24-hour sun? Have you not heard of how radiation impacts the body? Have you not known that when a body is exposed to something that makes it sick, more than just antibodies, that it always gets worse? It never gets better if it continues to be exposed to it? When I say those things, they're not legitimate questions. They're questions to say, you should have heard this. You should know this. You should have researched this. This is information you should already know. And the reason those questions as examples are legitimate is because if you're going to talk about a conspiracy, how do you not know that? You see what I'm saying, Charles? Like,
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
how do you not know that radiation pollutes the body, and that's part of how it makes it sick, and it impacts and deforms and mutates cells? How do you not know that? But you supposedly have researched your conspiracy theory. How do you not know that pain is not a frequency? Though there are signals that are sent by nerve ending to nerve receptor to nerve ending to nerve receptor from the area where the pain is through to the brain. But pain itself is not a frequency. You can't hear pain signals outside the body. So, but you know the conspiracy theory. You know the information. You're the one that knows, but you don't know that. So it's like, it's just like, it's literally, we're just rehashing the situation right now from the perspective of God talking to the stupid people of the earth. Whereas for us, it was dealing with some stupid idiot who don't know how to accept facts. And his ideology was his idolatry. Crazy how that works. Now, do you have any comments or questions about the first section as we go to the second section? Now would be the time to raise your hand. I feel like I screwed up. Did I screw up?
No.
Hold on, hold on. What did I put on the first section? I did screw up. The second section is supposed to be starting from verse 22, not verse 20. I
I
even have it
can't
on
see it.
top.
Oh, I see it now. I see it now. It's not blurry anymore.
Yeah. All right, so I'll just read from 22 to 24. It was supposed to be for the next section, but I accidentally screwed up. But since we're already on, we'll just deal with it. So you get two long ones, Charles. Hopefully you enjoy. But anyways, all right, so I'll be reading verse 22 to 24. Let me make sure the last one's not screwed up. So actually, we are good on that. Okay, 25. Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right. At least we know your section's accurate. All right. So, hey, you know what, Charles? Just like the situation, there was too much information that was irrelevant that needed to be held out. Just like the situation. Now I'm being petty. Anyways, pettiness aside, I'll be reading verses 22 to 24. Let me see if anybody had their hand raised. All right, good. Now, verse 22. Actually, I'll read verse 21 to go along with it, even though my section is from 22. I'll give everybody a second. All right. Verse 21. Have ye not known? Have ye not heard? Hath it not been told to has it not been told you from the beginning? Have ye not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he that sits upon the circle of the earth. Circle of the earth. Charles, circle of
Yeah,
the
I know.
earth.
I know. I know.
Hold on. Not flat. Circle sits on the circle of the earth. Charles, if you're sitting on a circle, are you sitting on a flat surface or are you sitting on a ball?
I'm sitting on the ball.
You're sitting on a
I know.
ball.
I know.
Really? So
Yeah.
we literally get a let me go to the definition for this word just to make sure I'm not tripping. Let me go to the definition for this just to make sure I'm not tripping. Okay? Because that is going to be so freaking funny. It'll be crazy. Sitting on the circle of the earth in verse 22. Okay, Isaiah, bro, if this is literally meaning round, I'm gonna laugh so freaking hard. Do you know how funny that is? Like 40 verse 22. Okay, for the word circle, a circle, a circuit, compassive. Oh, the surrounding. Okay, primitive root from H2328, which means to encircle, to encompass, surround. Okay, that's still not giving us enough. There's another primitive root to that word for H2287, which means properly to move in a circle, that is, to march in a sacred procession, to observe a festival by implication. Okay, so like dancing around in a circle. Okay, so that doesn't mean round. Okay, so cool. Cool, cool, cool. That would have been hilarious if that was the case. That would have been so funny if that was the case. So, circle, sitting on a circle. Again, the point's still there because if you're sitting on a circle, you're not sitting on a flat line. You're sitting on a curve. That would give way to meaning the earth is round. But if you take that word circle as we use it in English today, and you don't think about what it said, sitting on the circle, you're sitting on the curve. That's so funny, Charles. Even without having the word round, with it having the circuit, like the circle, the curve of it, You're sitting on the curve. That depiction is round, not flat. That's hilarious. Anyways, now if we take it for the way it means today with circle, it could go either side. The circuit, the compass. Well, can you do a circle around a ball, Charles?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. Can you do a circle over a ball, Charles?
Yeah, you can.
So if we took it as like a drawing of a circle and saying that it's sitting on that, then you could say that. But it says he sits upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, and that stretch out the heaven as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in. As a curtain.
I like how you're explaining it. You didn't finish reading.
My bad. I'm just like, because it literally is
Oh
backing
man.
up the idea that the earth is a sphere. Literally, as we're reading. It is he that sits upon the circle of the earth, which is a metaphor, mind you. It's not even literal, but the expression is that the earth is a circle. Doesn't say flat, just says a circle. But then it goes into, and the inhabitants, so the people that live on earth, are as grasshoppers that stretch out the heavens as a curtain. The heavens get stretched out as a curtain. Well, how does a curtain stretch out? It gets pulled around. So you could see if somebody wanted to take it out of context, how they could try to say, well, if it's like a curtain, well, a curtain in your house is flat, isn't it? It's just talking about, it literally brings up a tent and spreadeth them out as a tent over a dwelling. Charles, if a curtain is spread over as a tent over a dwelling, then it covers over it in a 3D fashion, right or wrong.
Right.
So when we look at this contextually, the heavens are stretched out as a curtain over them like a tent is, covering over everything. This is so hilarious. You get why people try to make that seem like the firmament means that, when we've seen that the firmament doesn't mean that. It's so hilarious how out of context you could try to make that. We just dealt with this. That is so hilarious. But anyways, 23, that bringeth the princes to nothing and maketh the judges of the earth as vanity. Yea, they shall not be planted. Yea, they shall not be sown. Yea, their stock shall not take root in the earth. And he shall blow upon them, and they shall wither, and the whirlwind shall take them away as stubble. So let's look at it for the context that it shows. How do you not know how God works? That's what 21 is saying. From the very beginning into 22, obviously connected. He's the one who sits upon the circle of the earth, sits on it. Charles, can you sit on a circle if it's not 3D?
Well, no, you can't. Has to be three-dimensional.
Exactly. If you had a chair that was in the shape of a circle for the seat, would you say you're sitting on a circle?
I would. It's a chair. It's in a circular shape, 3D dimension circular shape. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So I'm like, but when you're sitting on it, are you sitting on the circle? Does that make sense in that situation? If you
Well, yeah,
put
that
a paper in the ground and you sat on it and the paper was in the shape of a circle, you might be able to say you're sitting on a circle.
if you want to push your technicality, that's a reach.
Now you see what I'm saying. Yes, you could say you're sitting on a circle if the chair seat was in the shape of a circle. If like a bar stool, you could say you're sitting on a circle, but that wouldn't make sense. And nobody would say that. You would say I'm sitting on a stool, you'd say I'm sitting on a chair. You wouldn't be describing the shape of the chair. And even with that, when we looked it up, what did it say that the circle relates to? Encompassing, surrounding, encircling. That's what it related to in its definition. So in the context of it, when it's talking about God sits on the circle of the earth, he is surrounding the earth. He is chilling on it. In other words, he's all around it. That's what it means in context. Not a flat surface that's a circle. You have to stretch the context to get that. But the circle, as in the edge, the surrounding of it, that's what makes sense contextually. And when we look at the whole context, what were we talking about in the previous verses? How the nations mean nothing to God. They're just a drop in the bucket. He's over the whole world. It makes sense now when we look at it from the perspective of a circle or a circuit. It makes sense what it means contextually. This is not using an example of a literal circle, but more so the encirclement or the surrounding or the totality covering. That's what it means in the context. And it points out that he stretches the heavens as a curtain, he stretches them out. Now, is that saying that there's a firmament? No. It's saying that God is the one that does this. God is the one that stretches the heavens like curtains are stretched and spreads them out as a tent to dwell in. Well, who established and who made everything in the night sky? All the planets, all the stars, and everything there. God did. So are we talking about a firmament? No. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna look up for the word let me look at 22 again, and I'm gonna see if that word is used anywhere else. As a curtain, H1852. This is the only place it comes up, literally. And the definition for it comes from H1854, but it says something crumbling that is that is fine as a thin cloth or a curtain. People you know in the BDB it talks about a veil or a curtain or covering. We saw there was a veil that covered the house of God in the area for the holiest of holies. But when we go to the origin word for this, which is from H1854, it means to crumble or crush. So it's not focused on the freaking veil. It's not focused on the covering. It's focused on the depiction of the fabric and crumbling and crushing. A thin cloth, like a curtain. and he stretches it out like a curtain. Well, Charles, when you're stretching out a curtain from a window, are you pulling it over something, or are you just stretching it out to its full length?
Just stretching it out to its full length.
Exactly. So what makes more sense here contextually? That we're talking about a veil? That we're talking about a covering? Or does it make more sense that we're talking about God's power and about how he's the one who's formed everything as it brought up the foundations of the earth? And that's why, as we continue down the path of the overall, that it's discussing and describing God being above everything and the Messiah being above everything. You see what I'm saying, Charles?
I see what you're saying.
I love how today, literally, that same chapter is one that literally has been used out of context for talking about a flat earth. And we're able to debunk that by looking at the freaking context. It ain't talking about a flat earth. The word means literally a circuit or the encompassing or the encircling. It's not a literal circle like a piece of paper that's in the shape of a circle. God is not sitting on a flat circle. That's not what it's saying. It's talking about the covering, the encompassment, being around it, sitting around the earth. Jeez. Then we go into 23 and continuing on. That brings the princes to nothing. He makes the judges of the earth as vanity. Yea, they shall not be planted. Yea, they shall not be sown. Yea, their stock shall not take root. So, in other words, he makes it to where these supposed princes, these supposed kings, these supposed judges of the earth are really pointless. There's no real benefit to their existence. Because in the grand scheme, they're not planted and staying there. They're not going to be sown. They're not going to be developed. They're not able to take root on the earth. But when God so chooses to blow them away, they'll wither away just like stubble does. So when we look at the context again, even to 24, are we talking literal this entire time? Or are we using metaphors to explain God's authority and power and the authority and power of the Messiah as well?
Using a metaphor to explain
Exactly.
his power and authority.
So you gotta love how one of the verses that could be out of context for the flat earth gets debunked when we get context. That's not what it's saying. Could you imagine, Charles, if Thomas was still on and we're dealing with this today?
It
Can
should
you
end any
imagine
notion.
the
Yeah. It should end any notion. No more talking about flat earth, this, that, and the third. Okay. If you were supposed to do what you're supposed to do, you know what? Let me let that go and throw it in the trash can. The earth is a sphere. And we're leaving it at that. Sorry for even arguing about
exactly.
it.
Exactly. And when we read it here, we'd be like, see, this is because it would bring it up whether we want to or not, because it's literally the subject that's in here. It was like a bring it up, be like, I could see him saying, see, it says circle right there. Yeah, but how is it being used?
Right.
It's not being used as a literal circle. It's being used as a surrounding, as an encompassing. That's how it's being used in its context. So when we look at it, I'm just like, man, it's so funny that he's gone and now we get the debunking of the flat earth and this verse being out of context being proven. Out of context. He couldn't wait one day. And I'm glad he didn't because I don't think you know what? Let me say this, Charles. I don't think we would have had a Bible study. I think the moment we got to this verse, it would have got cut off anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyways, now, any comments or questions as we go to the final section? Now would be the time to raise your hand. Gotta love how God works. All right. Then go ahead and finish us out, Charles.
All right, I'll be reading Isaiah chapter 40, verses 25 to 31. Verse 25. To whom then will ye liken me? Or shall I be equal? Saith the Holy One. Lift up your eyes on high, and behold who hath created these things, that bringeth out their hosts by number. He calleth them all by names, by the greatness of his might. For that he is strong in power, not one faileth. Why sayest thou, O Jacob, and speakest, O Israel? My way is hid from the Lord, and my judgment is passed over from my God. Hast thou not known? Hast thou not heard that the everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary? There is no searching of his understanding. He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might he increaseth strength. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. All right. Let me go back to 25. I'm doing a lot of verses today. So it's still that. So we're still connected, but we got different details. So the overall still connected. Where's my paper? Above all, and the overall is still the connection. But in my section, we're talking about not just his power, but we're also talking about one detail we got into about like hiding, how you think you're gonna hide things from God. You think you're gonna hide this, hide that, but also the power to give strength and might to those that are faint, those that are weary, versus him who never gets tired. God never gets tired. He never is never faint. He's above all of that. So yeah, it's still
Exactly.
connected on the above all and overall, but just different points of showing his power, how powerful he is compared to the insignificant of everything else.
Exactly.
Now for sections.
Oh wait, well, actually no, when you go to the explanation, there's something I don't think you're gonna notice, but if you do, it'll be great, but I don't think you will.
Okay. So I got 25, 20, 25. That sounds like a funny conversation. Not even a funny conversation. That sounds like not like a funny announcement of him going and going and going. With 25, with 26,
Yep. Yep.
and with 27, 28. So I have 25, 26, 27, 28 as a section. Then I have 29, 30, 31 as the second section.
Good. Perfect. Now go ahead and explain.
Now, first section, God is going in. You gonna compare me to? You gonna liken me to this other thing? Do you think that I have? You think I have an equal? You think I have an equal? As great as I am, as powerful as I am, I'm so great. Nothing fails. Everything I do, nothing fails. And you think you also you think you can hide things from me? I created you. I created the word hide. What you gonna hide from me? I created that. All I have to do is just take a peek and see what you're trying to hide from me. I see all things. I see everything. Verse 27 makes me think of those penguins from that movie. You didn't see anything. No, God sees everything. He sees everything.
Exactly.
Have you not heard that I'm the Almighty that has seen and done everything? That doesn't fail, that doesn't get tired, that doesn't get weary? Have you not heard? I'm the same God, the one true God, the creator. Don't you understand? I'm the same one that doesn't need any understanding. I am the understanding. Who gonna
I
teach
am
me?
the understand.
Yeah. That's what I got it from my section. That's what 25 to 28 sounds like to me.
I am the hype. That's what
Yeah,
you made me
literally.
think of when
Yeah,
you said I am
literally.
the
Yeah,
understand.
yep. I'm thinking of the you sent that video months ago. The Vegeta, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the bridge.
Vegeta.
Yep.
Dragon Ball Z, Vegeta. I am the understanding. That's what God is saying in here.
Exactly.
Now, the second section is also talking about when you're talking about not when you're, but he's talking about I'm the one that give when people are weary, when people are tired, I give them the strength. I give them the might. I give them the strength. And it's funny how it brings up 31 sounds like a Red Bull commercial. I wouldn't be surprised if they started their commercial based off of verse 31. How God is talking about he's going to mount them up with eagle wings, and they're going to run and not be weary, and they're not going to faint. God gives people the power when people don't feel strong, when people need that strength, when they're faint. God gives them that. Matter of fact, let me
Exactly.
take back what I just said. Those that wait on God. So those that trust in God. So can I say those that trust in God, those that follow God, God gives them the power, the strength? Because in verse 31, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. So when you're talking about those that wait on the Lord, you're talking about people that trust in God, that waited on God, that follow God. They're the
Mm-hmm.
ones that get that strength when they need the strength. They're the ones that get that energy when they feel faint. God is their Red Bull. There's no need
God
for
is
more
the
Red Bull.
Red Bull.
God is the Red Bull.
He does give you wings.
Yes. And that's what I got for my section. I know my
Good.
explanation is funny, but I'm trying to make sure I get it out and make sure it's understandable.
No, no, you did a good job on that. So again, I'll ask one more time, just for the sake of the point being dead and gone, being a dead horse, but I have to say it. Is the context of God sitting on the circle of the earth, is that saying that the earth is a flat circle?
No.
Is the stretching of the heavens describing a firmament that covers the earth, that
No.
to where we can't go to outer space?
No.
Is anything in here that we read today contextually backing up the ideology of a flat earth?
None of the stuff backs up flat there. Nothing.
And lastly, if somebody did choose to take verses out of context, now could verses in this section back up the idea of a flat earth?
Let me repeat
It,
that. No, repeat it again. Repeat it again.
yeah, now remember you're supposed to be saying it back to me so I know you understand.
No, I
If
need you to. Yeah, go ahead. Go
okay,
ahead.
if somebody were to come up and bring these verses out of context, not in context, out of context, could you see why people might think there's a firmament and a flat earth from these verses?
If somebody was to bring these verses up out of context, could I see them bringing up the firmament
Can
and
you see
taking things out
why
of
they say that it's talking about firmament and a flat earth? Can you see why it could back it up out of context?
context? I can see
Yes.
how funny it can go. Yeah, I can see how funny it would go. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I can see how far they would reach it to make it out of context. Yeah, I see that too.
Exactly. So we're talking about a circle as in the circuit, as in the surrounding, as in the circumference. That says nothing of being flat or round at all. But out of context, when we think of the word circle today, we don't think of a ball as a circle. Well, did the word sphere exist at this time frame? These are questions that would have to be answered. And the fact is, contextually, as we saw, that's not what it's saying. It's talking about God's power, how he's over everything, how he's the one who stretched the heavens, he's the one who set everything up. That's what that's saying. He's not only the one who is here watching over everything, but he's also the one that set everything up. That's the point there. All right. Now, any comments or questions before we pray out the Bible study portion? Now would be the time to raise your hands. All right, then I'll go ahead and pray us out from the Bible study portion. Go ahead and bow your head. Father, thank you for this time you've given us to be able to study your word and the timing of it. That's so ironic that literally, after having to kick somebody else out for being unwilling to hear truth, unwilling to hear facts, we get to a verse that out of context could be used to back up their point of view, but in context completely doesn't. Again, which if he didn't get kicked out yesterday, I guarantee he'd have been kicked out today. And I think that shows us, God, a little bit of a firm foundation that's saying not to worry about it, because if it wasn't yesterday, it would have been today. And I think that's showing us that it would have happened regardless. And I thank you, God, for that. So we don't have to worry about it. This is our fresh start as a church where only the real Christians are really here, no fake ones. So we thank you and we praise you in your Son's holy and precious name, Jesus Christ Yeshua. Amen.
Amen.
All right, now I'm down to 4%. So you just go ahead and do yours. And if it does hang up, go ahead and close it out. But let me say the verse listening. So we have that at least.
Go ahead.
Because this car charger is not working in this car. They got a messed up plug. So I'm going to have to do something. All right, tonight's Bible listening. Actually, I'll just say it. We'll worry about doing this tomorrow. I'll just make sure I get the listening done. Daniel chapter 5 to Hosea chapter 6.
Got
Again,
it.
Daniel chapter 5 to Hosea chapter 6. And because the car charger's not working, I will go ahead and we'll close it out now instead.
Okay.
All right, yeah, 2%. Yeah. I'll call you
All
later
right.
once it man, this stupid charger. It should be charging.
Call me later when you get a charge.
Will do.
All right, peace.
All right, bye.